One city banned every single car and reversed its own death. From a South American metropolis that shuts down 121 kilometers of roads every Sunday, to a Renaissance city whose streets were designed for walking 600 years before cars existed. These are the 10 most walkable cities on Earth. Not just pretty sidewalks. We're ranking real infrastructure, safety data, and the policies that actually got people out of their cars. Some of these cities will surprise you. Number 10. Bogota, Colombia. Every Sunday, something remarkable happens in Bogota. 121 kilometers of roads close to cars, and 1.5 million people flood the streets on foot, on bikes, on skates. It's called Ciclovia, and it's the largest recurring car-free event in the world. But Ciclovia is just the visible part. Bogota's real transformation started with Enrique Peñalosa, the mayor who famously said, "A developed country is not a place where the poor have cars. It's where the rich use public transport." His Transmilenio BRT system, carrying 2.4 million riders daily, feeds directly into a growing pedestrian network. The city has added 76 kilometers of protected pedestrian corridors since 2020. And here's what makes Bogota remarkable. It spends more per capita on pedestrian infrastructure than most European capitals, despite having a fraction of their GDP. Over 400 cities worldwide have copied the Ciclovia model. The developing world isn't following Europe's walkability playbook. They're writing their own. Number 9. Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne doesn't look like a walkable city at first glance. It sprawls. It has highways. But look closer, and you'll find 300 laneways and arcades carved through the city center, creating 35 kilometers of pedestrianized passages that feel more like a European old town than a former British colony. The real game changer is Melbourne's 20-minute neighborhood policy, adopted in 2018. Every resident must be able to reach groceries, schools, parks, and healthcare within a 20-minute walk. It's not aspirational. It's law. The city runs the world's largest tram network at 250 kilometers, and every tram stop feeds into a walkable zone. Melbourne has virtually zero surface parking lots left in its CBD. They were systematically converted to laneways, parks, and pedestrian plazas over 30 years. That transformation started with closing Swanston Street to cars in 1992. People called it insane. Today, it's the most visited street in Australia, and the city targets 50% of all trips to be made on foot by 2030. Number 8. Tokyo, Japan. Tokyo has 882 train and metro stations. That's not a typo. 882 stations in one city. It means 90% of Tokyo's residents live within a 10-minute walk of a station. The city essentially functions as a network of walkable villages connected by rail. Every station has an ekimi, a walkable commercial district radiating outward like a small town center. And linking these neighborhoods are 1,600 Shotengai, covered shopping streets that provide weather-protected walking routes year-round. But the stat that matters most is safety. Tokyo's pedestrian fatality rate is 0.73 per 100,000 people. That's less than one-third of New York's rate, despite Tokyo having 4 times the population density. There's almost no jaywalking in Tokyo, not because of harsh enforcement, but because the pedestrian infrastructure is so well designed, with crossings, underpasses, and overpasses, that jaywalking simply isn't necessary. After COVID, Tokyo accelerated its Walkable City initiative, pedestrianizing sections of Shinjuku, Shibuya, and Ikebukuro. A city that was already one of the safest places to walk on Earth decided it still wasn't walkable enough. Number 7. Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona invented the superblock. Take 9 city blocks. Ban through traffic. Drop the speed limit to 10 kilometers per hour. That's 6 miles per hour. Turn the intersections into plazas. That's a superblock. And Barcelona is building 503 of them. Since 2016, the city has reclaimed 33 hectares of road space for pedestrians. But here's the stat that silenced every critic. Retail revenue in superblock zones increased 30%. Pedestrianization didn't kill business. It supercharged it. NO2 pollution dropped 25% in affected areas. Walking trips increased 10%. And the superblocks feed into La Rambla, one of the world's most famous pedestrian boulevards at 1.2 kilometers. Barcelona's Green Axis plan, running through 2030, will connect every superblock with 21 green corridors, creating one continuous pedestrian network across the entire city. Number 6. Paris, France. Paris removed 60,000 parking spaces in 5 years. Let that sink in. 60,000 spaces gone. And the city isn't done. Mayor Anne Hidalgo's 15-minute city plan guarantees that every Parisian can access groceries, schools, healthcare, and parks within a 15-minute walk. The Seine riverbanks, banned from cars in 2016, are now 3 kilometers of pedestrian promenade. Rue de Rivoli, the major east-west artery, was closed to cars in 2020. The entire city adopted a 30-kilometer-per-hour speed limit in 2021. And the Champs-Élysées, arguably the most famous avenue on Earth, just converted 50% of its car lanes to pedestrian and green space. Here's the remarkable part. In 2015, Paris had a walkability score of only 72 out of 100. Today, it's above 91. No major Western city has improved its walkability this fast, ever. The 2024 Olympics accelerated the timeline by a decade. Many temporary car-free zones became permanent overnight. Paris didn't just host the games. It used them to redesign the entire city for walking. Number 5. Vienna, Austria. Vienna has been ranked the world's most livable city 14 consecutive years by Mercer. And walkability is a core reason why. 28% of all trips in Vienna are made on foot. For a city of nearly 2 million people, that's exceptional. The Innere-Stadt, the historic First District, is almost entirely pedestrianized across 1.5 square kilometers. But what really sets Vienna apart is the transit walking integration. The city's annual transit pass costs just €395, roughly $1 a day. The result? Vienna has more registered transit pass holders, over 1 million, than registered cars at 690,000. When public transit is that cheap, walking to the station becomes the default. Maria-Hilfer Strasse, Vienna's busiest shopping street, was pedestrianized in 2015. Shopkeepers predicted disaster. Instead, retail sales increased 20% and pedestrian traffic doubled. Vienna's Smart City 2030 plan targets 80% of all trips by walking, cycling, or transit. They're already at 73%. Number 4. Amsterdam, Netherlands. Everyone talks about Amsterdam's bikes. But Amsterdam is actually one of Europe's best walking cities precisely because the cycling infrastructure separates bikes from pedestrians. You're never competing for space. The city has 400 kilometers of dedicated pedestrian paths, separate from the 767-kilometer cycling network. The UNESCO-listed Canal Ring provides 14 kilometers of uninterrupted waterside walking. And the Autoloop policy has been progressively banning cars from the city center since 2019. Here's a stat that surprises everyone. In Amsterdam's own resident satisfaction surveys, walking scores higher than cycling. 88% satisfaction for walking versus 84% for cycling. The world's most famous cycling city is actually better at walking. Parking in central Amsterdam now costs €7.50 per hour. That's not an accident. It's deliberately punitive. The city wants you to walk. The Amsterdam Autoloop plan will reduce city center car traffic by 30% and add 10,000 square meters of pedestrian space by 2026. Number 3. Copenhagen, Denmark. In 1962, Copenhagen did something no major city had ever done. It permanently closed Straget, a 1.1-kilometer shopping street, to all car traffic. Shopkeepers said it would destroy them. Within 1 year, foot traffic increased 35%. Within 5 years, surrounding streets were voluntarily requesting pedestrianization. This is now called the Copenhagen effect, and it's been replicated in over 1,000 cities worldwide. Copenhagen didn't just invent pedestrian streets. It invented the science of walkability. Gehl, a Copenhagen architect, started studying how people used Straget in the 1960s. His research created the entire academic discipline of public space design. Every walkable city on this list owes something to his work. Today, Copenhagen city center has over 100,000 square meters of car-free public space. The Finger Plan, first drawn in 1947, ensures every neighborhood develops around transit corridors with walkable village centers at each station. The city's newest districts, Nordhavn and Sydhavn, are being built as car-free neighborhoods from the ground up. Not retrofitted, not redesigned, built without cars from day one. Copenhagen didn't become walkable by accident. It became walkable because one architect looked out his window 60 years ago and asked, what if we designed cities for people? Number 2. Pontevedra, Spain. You've probably never heard of Pontevedra. It's a city of 83,000 people in northwest Spain, and it's the most radically walkable city on earth. In 1999, Mayor Miguel Angel Fernandez Lores did something no one thought possible. He banned virtually all cars from the entire city center. Not a street, not a district, the entire center. 300,000 square meters, completely car-free. There are no traffic lights in downtown Pontevedra. They were removed because they're unnecessary when there are no cars. Children walk to school unaccompanied from age 6. CO2 emissions dropped 70%. And here's the most important number. Pedestrian fatalities in the city center have been zero since 2011. 14 consecutive years without a single pedestrian death. But Pontevedra's real miracle is economic. When the car ban was announced, the city was dying. Population declining, businesses closing, young people leaving. The pedestrianization reversed every one of those trends. Population grew by 12,000. Commercial vacancy dropped from 30% to under 5%. Pontevedra won the UN Habitat Prize in 2014 and the European Urbanism Award. It's the most decorated small city for walkability in the world. The rest of the world is still trying to figure out what Pontevedra figured out 25 years ago. Ban the cars. People will come. Number 1. Florence, Italy. Florence's streets were designed for walking 600 years before the first car was invented. The medieval grid averages 4 to 6 meters wide. There is physically no room for modern traffic. And that accident of history created the most walkable city on earth. Florence's ZTL, Zona a Traffico Limitato, covers 5.3 square kilometers of the historic center. It's the largest permanently enforced car-restricted zone in Europe. 72% of all trips within the ZTL are on foot, not by choice, by design. The entire UNESCO-protected Centro Storico functions as one continuous pedestrian zone, with over 40 piazzas serving as natural rest points. The Ponte Vecchio, Piazza della Signoria, and the Duomo create what urbanists call the Florence Loop, a 4-kilometer walking circuit that 97% of visitors complete entirely on foot. But here's the story nobody tells. Florence's ZTL was created in 1988, one of the earliest large-scale car restrictions in Europe. But it wasn't motivated by environmentalism or walkability ideology. It was motivated by art. Structural engineers at the Uffizi Gallery determined that vehicle vibrations were degrading Renaissance frescoes. The city didn't ban cars to make walking better. It banned cars to save Botticelli and Michelangelo. Art conservation created the world's most walkable city. And that's a story only Florence can tell. The city expanded ZTL hours in 2024 and added AI-powered cameras for enforcement. Florence has been walkable for 600 years. It intends to stay that way for 600 more. So what do these 10 cities have in common? 3 patterns emerge. First, every city that became walkable saw retail revenue increase, not decrease. Barcelona up 30%, Vienna up 20%, Pontevedra from 30% vacancy till under 5%. The data is overwhelming. Pedestrianization is good for business. Second, the best walking cities aren't just car-free. They're transit-rich. Tokyo's 882 stations. Vienna's million transit passes. Copenhagen's Finger Plan. Walking works when transit handles the long trips. Third, almost every transformation on this list started with controversy. Shopkeepers in Copenhagen, Vienna, Pontevedra, they all predicted disaster. They were all wrong. In every single case. If this changed how you see cities, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Like this video if you think your city needs more pedestrian space. And tell us, Which city on this list surprised you the most?